Feeling good. Well, here we go. My wife and I have been married for 10 years. We have no children together. I have a 12-year-old boy. My wife has 3 girls, ages 28 to 19 from 2 different marriages. Over the years, these girls have been a big part of my life as well as I in theirs. Weddings, baptisms, etc. My wife's family is relatively large compared to mine, and for the most part pretty close. As time would have it, I have had a pretty close relationship with all of them, with really no objections to any of them and vice versa. Background of the marriage, in a nutshell. We were married in November of 2012, after living together for a year, and as any newlyweds very much in love and ready to start our lives together. This was my wife's 3rd marriage and my first. In the first coming years, life was grand. Then, in 2014 I had gotten into a long and emotional battle with my son's mother. Let's just call her the egg donor, for custody, which, at the time my wife was very involved and dedicated to getting my son to be part of our new family. The custody battle went on for 4 years and covered 4 counties and 2 states. To no avail, I did not get custody. During this period of time my wife was having some medical problems, health-wise. She at the time was 38 and I was 32. Financially we were pretty sound, had bought a house, bought some toys, etc. For the next 3 years things were great. Oh, don't get me wrong, we had our share of marital arguments. As any married couple we worked through our differences and excelled at our marriage. In 2015 my wife's health problems blossomed into month after month of doctor's visits and 2 major back surgeries, each one putting her out of service for 6 to 9 months of no work and lots of bed rest. This went on for 2 years. During this time, I was there to take care of her night and day to make sure that her needs were met, and aiding in her recovery. Moving forward to 2017, another blow of serious unforeseeable medical problems arose. My wife needed a total knee replacement. Following the news of that was heart-wrenching event, the housing crash. I have made my living as a construction worker for 15 years, and made a damn good living at it. Now, 2 things that were dear to me were becoming torn apart beyond my control. So being the breadwinner of the house, and having 3 stepchildren in the house, and no work available locally, I went out of town to go to work. To this point our marriage was considered ideal and functional. This out-of-town work paid very well, so if I could not be with my wife in our home I would pay to have her come stay with me, for a couple weeks at a time. I would make it home once every couple of weeks for a day, and then right back at it. Working 14-hour days 6 to 7 days a week in some pretty nasty conditions. Cold as hell. I did this off and on for 4 years. In my time off we would go on lavish mini vacations. I had made a commitment to my wife to take care of her in every way possible, especially now in her time of need after the 18-month back surgery recovery. I realized that the lifestyle was not ideal, but we were happy and we got to keep all the stuff we had worked so hard for. House, boat, toys, etc. So, for the next 3 years I told my wife, you don't have to worry about working if you don't want to. This was difficult for my wife, because she was a nurse, supported herself and her 3 girls, but again, we made it work. Flashing ahead to April 2020, I come off a job, my last job, to our home to find the doors locked as always when I am out of town, only to find my wife holding the door closed as I'm trying to get in, and the locks are changed. So, my heart pounding and adrenaline fearing what I thought would never happen, suddenly becomes so real. So, I proceeded to kick the door and demand that I be let into my house. As several minutes go by and no response from my wife, I was greeted by 4 deputy sheriffs that proceeded to haul me to jail for my first ever disorderly conduct, domestic charge. And under my state's domestic laws, after I have my mother bail me out of jail at 3 a.m., I find out that I cannot contact her, go to my own home, or have someone contact her for me for 72 hours. At this point I am just leveled with what is happening to me, and more so that my beloved wife is the one doing this. After the 72-hour not contact, I go to our home only to find that the place has been emptied of all of my things and most of hers, and that she sold most of my tools, laptop, widescreen TV, etc. with only her response that the house payment needed to be made. When it was only a day late, at this point I am furious and proceed to move the little of my things out. As I'm doing this, she blesses me with the info that 3 years ago she had an affair with our so-called best friend. I'm floored again. I move my stuff out and maintain a very distant and distraught relationship with her for the next 3 months. After many phone calls and partial conversations with her, I somehow figure that yes, I will go to counseling. That lasted about 8 months. Some of the counseling was good. It felt good to tell her how I felt truly, and that what a piece of crap I thought she was doing that to me after everything I had sacrificed for her, and not putting myself first but morally following my vows I made with her 9 years prior. Zipping along to April 2022. We have been living apart, but still together and married for a year this month. She had told me the whole deal, followed by her countless apologies and trying to make it work. I am at a crossroads at this point now. I still love her, but I'm not in love with her. I would like to see if it would work again, but I had told my wife one thing about me prior to us getting married and her accepting my proposal. Was as follows: if you cheat on me, whether it's 5 months or 15 years after the fact, and I find out about by any means, it's over. She agreed. Now I want a divorce, and she doesn't. I still have mixed emotions about the whole thing. My biggest concern is going back on my own words that are core values to me and taking another chance on a woman who has cheated in all 3 of her marriages. I realize that her past is her past, but I see a pattern. I remember lying in bed one night, tossing and turning, as my mind wrestled with the decision I needed to make. I still loved her, there was no doubt about that, but the trust that had once been the foundation of our relationship was shattered. It was like a puzzle with missing pieces. No matter how hard you tried to put it back together, it would never be complete again. And wasn't trust the most important aspect of a relationship? I decided I couldn't ignore my gut feeling any longer. It was time to initiate the divorce proceedings. It was a tough decision, but it felt like the right one. As I started the process, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of sadness and anger. How could she betray me like this? After all the sacrifices I had made for her, all the love and support I had given her, it felt like a cruel joke. The divorce process was ugly, to say the least. There were arguments, tears, and nasty exchanges, a far cry from the loving relationship we once had. It felt like a completely different world from the one where we stood at the altar, vowing to love and cherish each other forever. The bitterness and resentment seemed to grow with each passing day, and I found myself wondering if there was anything left of the love we once had. As we fought over assets, memories of our happy times together played like a movie in my head. Our laughter, our conversations, our dreams, everything that made us us, now seemed like a distant, unreachable reality. I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss, a grieving for the life we had built together. But I knew deep down that it was gone, and there was no going back. During the divorce proceedings, I tried to maintain a civil relationship with my wife for the sake of her children. They had become such an integral part of my life, and I didn't want them to suffer because of our mistakes. Despite the emotional turmoil, I did my best to stay involved in their lives, attending their school events, and offering support when needed. The girls, aware of the pain their mother had caused me, were understanding and sympathetic. They too struggled with the reality of the situation, and it broke my heart to see them caught in the middle of our mess. I couldn't help but feel guilty for the pain they were going through. As the divorce process dragged on, it took a toll on my mental and emotional well-being. I found myself constantly on edge, snapping at the smallest things and struggling to maintain a sense of normalcy. My friends and family offered their support, but I couldn't help feeling alone and overwhelmed. I was losing not just my wife, but my entire life as I knew it. Eventually, the divorce was finalized. It was a bittersweet moment, as I felt both a sense of relief and a deep sadness. I was free from a marriage that had turned toxic, but at the same time, I mourned the loss of the love and companionship that had once brought me so much happiness. As I began to rebuild my life, I found solace in spending time with my son. He was my rock, and together, we faced the challenges of adjusting to our new lives. I focused on healing and rediscovering myself, attending therapy sessions, and leaning on my support system. It was a long and arduous journey, but I knew I needed to find a way to move forward. As time passed, the wounds began to heal. I realized that although the pain of betrayal and the loss of trust were still present, I was becoming a stronger and more resilient person because of it. I started to see the silver lining. The situation, the lessons I had learned about love, trust, and the importance of staying true to oneself. I discovered that I was capable of picking up the pieces of my shattered life and rebuilding it into something even better than before. While I still grappled with feelings of anger and betrayal, I found that forgiveness was an essential part of the healing process. Not just forgiving my ex-wife, but forgiving myself for the mistakes I had made and the pain I had caused. I began to understand that forgiveness wasn't about condoning what had happened, but about letting go of the past and embracing the future with an open heart. As the time went by, I slowly started to rebuild my social life, making new friends and exploring new interests. My relationships with my ex-wife's daughters remained strong, and I cherished the bond we had formed. It was a testament to the fact that even in the darkest of times, love and connection could still prevail. My journey through divorce was one of the most challenging experiences of my life. It tested my strength, my resilience, and my ability to forgive. But in the end, it made me a better person, one who was more in tune with his emotions, more empathetic towards others, and more understanding of the complexities of love and relationships. As I moved forward into the next chapter of my life, I carried with me the lessons I had learned from my marriage and divorce. I knew that I would never again compromise my core values, and that trust was something that had to be earned and cherished. I also learned that life was full of unexpected twists and turns, and that sometimes, even the most painful experiences could lead to personal growth and a deeper understanding of oneself. With these lessons in my heart, I embraced my new life with open arms, excited for the possibilities that lay ahead. Though the scars from my past would always remain, I knew that they were a part of my story, a story of love, loss, and ultimately, redemption. And in the end, I realized that I had come out stronger and wiser than ever before, ready to face whatever life had in store for me. My comment: things might start off rough, but it would become better eventually. It's hard to start over, but you need to face everything, one at a time. Story 2. Been married for 15 years, have 3 kids who are 15, 13, and 11. We got married pretty quickly, as you can see from the data above. When I met my wife, I fell in love with her. We shared the same interests. The bonding was amazing. The connection was real. We met in September, married in January, and had our first child that June. It was really quick. So, our first child is born, which was the most amazing day of my life, and we were happy. Very broke, but really happy, and home really felt like home. New wife, new baby, what more could a man want? Well, months go by and bonding stops. I figured with having a child, she needed to heal and probably wasn't in the mood as she put on the usual baby weight. Well, more months go by and still no bonding. It started to become an issue. She kept on telling me that I married her only because I got her pregnant. Okay, I admit, it sped the process up, but I really was in love with her. I worshipped the ground she walked on. Months turn into years. We do end up having 2 more children, but I am still being beat up with. You married me because of our first child. I thought I would show her that I really love her, not just tell her, but really show her. I would do little things, notes, little mini vacations, just her and I, to show her that I wanted to be with her and enjoyed her company. The conversations were solely about the kids. I tried to make it about us, but it always turned into a planning session of all the stuff we have to do with the kids for the coming week. Bonding was a problem now. When we were dating, she was almost insatiable and she turned into the polar opposite. Well, I turned to porn to satiate myself, but not to the point where that's all I did all day long. I did not want to cheat on her and totally mess up my marriage and put all that in jeopardy. After all, I was in my late 20s to 30s and still had a high physical drive. After our last child was born, I got a vasectomy as I knew we didn't want to have any more children. This is really as an aside story only to demonstrate a point, because they needed a sample to make sure there were no swimmers left. I had a really hard time with providing one and asked my wife if she could help me out. She told me that was disgusting and I had to fend for myself. She also told me she would be okay with not having sex for the rest of her life. Remember, this is on top of being told I married her only because of our first child. Fast forward about 13 years into the marriage. We have a couple of drinks one night and I discover she had quite the active physical life in college. Now, I don't care what people do in their past, especially being young and maybe even dumb. But here's the kicker, she told me she did those things because she had been date ex, which I knew about a long time ago, so no surprise there, and just didn't care anymore. So, after years of this battle with her, a huge question popped into my head. Why couldn't she do things with me, once in a while, that maybe she really didn't want to do? After all, I am her husband and not a frat brother. I mean, she had threesomes, did certain things to the frat brothers, all that sort of stuff, but wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole. I was just totally bewildered and angered by this. So in about year 14, I just had enough. I felt, after 14 years of rejection, all the physical problems, her doing things with others before me but not doing things for me, I just felt extremely rejected. For me, I felt if I had become incapacitated in that regard, and she still had desire, I would do things for her as my wife. There were also some bad financial decisions she made, but didn't really want to get into all that right now. I am now at the point where I am just not in love with her anymore, and I don't even really find her all that attractive now. I don't hate her either, as we can still have good conversations, but it's not us conversations. It's more about, say, politics, or current events, or news of how our friends and family are doing. The last year and a half have been filled with huge fights, resentment, and turmoil. We've become great roommates, but that's not what marriage is all about. I just feel dead inside, frustrated, trapped, rejected, and not knowing what to do really. I am seriously thinking about leaving her. She can't be happy either. The more I think about being by myself, the happier I get. I am actually looking forward to it, and am not scared to make that jump any longer. Kids are resilient, and I will always make sure they are taken care of, not just financially, but emotionally too. I look forward to the rest of my life again. I've posted earlier that I discovered my wife had these texts from some guy she knew in high school, and when I confronted her, it all stopped the very next day. Her iPhone uses internet, and having been an IT guy, the router keeps logs of websites visited. Her iPhone is using text now, and not only can you text with it, but you can also have voice calls on it. She's on it quite a bit, so I guess she's figured out another way on how to communicate with whomever. Here's the kicker, I don't even care. I think several years ago I would have marched upstairs and confront her, but I almost find this as a pass to continue with my plans of leaving her. I really don't know who this woman is I married. I'm still moving ahead with the plan for divorce, but I'm scratching my head on something. My STBXW is using a free texting app on her iPhone to text a person or persons ferociously. I mean, it starts as soon as she wakes up and is all day long going strong, and has been for days. I had a friend of mine suggest it could be a female friend trying to console her, but why keep it secret, and what friend texts all day long like this? Here's the question, she has actually scheduled a MC session for next Thursday. I really don't want to go. Why schedule it? Clearly, she's done, and I know she knows I am, so why on earth do this? I'm curious what you guys think. She's texting like my teenage daughters. I have pages of router logs showing the number of times she's used this application. She literally disappears into the bedroom to do the majority of this texting. It's got to be an interest beyond friendship, but I don't have transcripts of conversations, so I can't say that 100%. Her mood swings have gotten worse. One minute she's high as a kite, the next minute she's ready to rip someone's head off. Seems consistent with an interest she has that's beyond friendship to me. I'm so ready to move on, it isn't funny. I look forward to being alone, I really do. I'm only gathering evidence at this point in case she gets angry at me. My plans are moving forward. Took the kids and her out to dinner tonight. She was in good spirits. Got home, went upstairs like she usually does to text, and wow, what a 180. She was ready to kill someone. Can't take this anymore. I am working on exiting right now. I just need a couple more weeks to get things squared away. Just gathering evidence at this point and biding my time. Thank God I am going out of town for a week tomorrow. That distance from her will be nice. I just hate being away from the kids though. Well, it looks like she's stepped up her reaching out to other men. She's on a site which you can link to your FB account. She hasn't, so that's a secret too. The texting has picked up even more, so I suppose she's contacting these people using the Text Now application. Is she just trying to get someone as a backup because she sees the writing on the wall? I'm going to stick a fork in it very soon. This is ridiculous and it needs to end to mitigate the bitterness as much as possible. I'm ready to keep it amicable, friendly, and be a good parent in a tough situation. I'm afraid she's not, and that concerns me greatly. I've been out of the country for a week now and have to extend it one more week due to business. Now the texting activity runs into the wee hours of the morning. I think we can confirm it's not some consoling girlfriend. I'm still gathering evidence in the meantime. I hope to go to mediation later this month or early November. An update. So, we've been to MC for several sessions now, and I've found myself to be the one who has been doing most of the talking and participating. My goal for the MC was to figure out how to talk to my W without it turning into a screaming match. I told the counselor at this point this is what I would like to have happen and we can go from there. My W agreed. So as part of an exercise, we went out on a date night this past Saturday night to discuss our lives from 0 to 3, 4 to 6, and onwards, recounting our memories from when we were kids. There were actually new things that came to light, but you know what? It actually made things worse for me. First of all, I then realized how messed up she really is, and it confirms how anger is an emotion she is most comfortable with. This woman will literally charge at me in anger when she wants to talk about something. This is an aspect of her I have never liked at all. So, I think I can say I've tried MC, and though we are not fighting as much anymore and are more amicable towards each other, it now just confirms how I feel about her. Have any of you have gone to MC, done a real analysis of the situation, and due to the MC, it actually drove you more towards getting a D? Sometimes I look at my kids, and then I feel horribly guilty for wanting to D their mom. Any thoughts, please? The W is such an angry and unstable person. I want her cooperation in a way so she doesn't act on her emotion, do stupid things, and all that does is drain both of us financially and emotionally. I guess I am trying to be smart about this, but I suppose there's just no easy way to do it. I am trying to proceed with the least amount of damage possible to all of us. This woman is highly manipulative and uses emotional blackmail anytime it benefits her. She's almost dangerous, to be very honest. You would never know if you met her for the first time. I can't say she's abusive to the kids. She's actually a great mom, so I am blessed as far as that aspect is concerned. She's not an emotionally healthy person, that's for sure. We talked over the weekend as part of an assignment given to us by our MC, and I found out her mother constantly told her to make sure that they love you more than you love them. I also found out she's put a wall up during the entire marriage. I don't think the counseling is really helping here. All three of my kids have cell phones, and when I am of town, we are in constant contact. I am sure they will adjust and be fine with the D, but I guess there's a part of me that is fearful they may not handle it well. I am sure my fears are unfounded. She acts on anger, and that's the disturbing part, which really concerns me on how she will handle the process. I can't say I've got plenty in reserves here, so I really can't afford a protracted legal battle with her. I don't really care about the money, but at the same time, I would like my kids to have something left after the D, for crying out loud. She would be the type to wipe it all out and realize after the dust settled of what the repercussions of her actions are. I do wonder if she has some sort of underlying disorder. She can be difficult to deal with even when you approach her in a very calm and logical manner. Nope, didn't cheat. I really don't want the kids to know that she did either, to be honest. I would like us to bury the hatchet, be terrific co-parents, and be able to communicate without animosity. Sadly, I don't know if she is capable of that. This is my hesitation to move forward with the D. I wonder if deep down inside I know she's not well, and my contemplating D has made me feel guilty. I know I am the caretaker as described in your posts, but I can't live like this anymore either. So, we've had several MC sessions. At least I am trying here, and honestly, it's made things worse. Things have been brought up, and although I am sympathetic to her past, it still doesn't allow me to forgive what she's done to me. So here I am, waiting to be financially able to move out and seeing my kids and knowing what's on the way. It kills me, and it feels like because of her actions, soon I won't be able to see my kids on a daily basis, which feeds into resentment. Like my handle says, what a situation. I know I am not alone, but it still sucks. On the financial side, my partners and I had to kick out another partner who was not doing right by the team. It really has set us all back, unfortunately. Thankfully, that will be changing next month with the acquisition of some new deals. So, what's stopping me? Well, the financial concerns and the kids. She doesn't make much money and I do not want to put my kids in jeopardy financially. It changes in February and I can finally make my moves. Also, I've been preparing some things in that aspect, making sure I have as much control as I legally can. As far as the evidence, I don't care about it anymore. I know it won't do a thing in a court proceeding. I will, however, use it as blackmail if she doesn't agree to my terms. I'm sure her family members would be shocked to see it. She really wouldn't want that, as they think she's an angel. I started preparing myself mentally and emotionally for the divorce. I knew it would be a tough journey, but I was determined to break free from the toxic relationship that had been holding me back for years. I focused on my kids and made sure they knew that they were loved and that they would always come first. I also made sure I had a strong support system of friends and family around me. The divorce process began, and it was a battle, to say the least. My wife tried to manipulate the situation and make herself look like the victim, but I was determined not to let her drag me down. I presented my case calmly and logically, making sure the court knew the truth of the situation. I provided evidence of her infidelity and made it clear that I had tried everything possible to save our marriage, but she wasn't willing to put in the effort. As the divorce proceedings continued, things got ugly. My wife's true colors started to show, and she became more desperate to keep what she had. She fought me on every little detail, but I remained focused on getting a fair settlement and ensuring our children's well-being. The day finally came when the divorce was finalized. The court ruled in my favor, granting me primary custody of our children and dividing our assets fairly. My wife's manipulative tactics and her attempts to take everything had backfired, leaving her with much less than she had hoped for. Now, a few years after the divorce, I can honestly say I am happier than I have ever been. My relationship with my children is stronger than ever, and we have built a new life together, free from the toxicity that once surrounded us. I have found love again with someone who truly appreciates me and treats me with the respect I deserve. My ex-wife, on the other hand, continues to struggle with her life choices and the consequences of her actions. Throughout this entire process, I learned that I am stronger than I ever thought possible. I realized that I deserve happiness and love, and I fought for it with everything I had. The divorce was a difficult and painful experience, but it was necessary for me to move on and find the life I deserved. As I sit here, reflecting on the past and how far I've come, I can't help but feel a sense of relief and gratitude. I am grateful for the lessons I learned, the strength I discovered within myself, and the love and support of my friends and family. My life may not have turned out exactly as I had planned, but it has led me to a place where I can truly say I am happy and at peace. In the end, the divorce was the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to confront the reality of my situation and take control of my life. It showed me that I am strong, resilient, and capable of overcoming any challenge that comes my way. And most importantly, it allowed me to rediscover myself and find happiness on my own terms. As I move forward, I know that my past experiences have shaped me into the person I am today, a person who is stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. I will continue to cherish the relationships I have with my children and the new love I have found, and I will never take for granted the happiness and peace that I have finally achieved. My comment: good for you, OP. Take control of your life. At the end of the day, it is your life.